Did you notice what the Israeli military just published and what it actually means for the survival of the Iranian regime? Not another missile strike update, not another casualty figure, something far more revealing. Israeli military images of an underground tunnel complex stretching nearly 5 kilometers beneath the heart of Tehran, directly under hospitals, schools, parking garages, and residential neighborhoods. Israeli military images of an underground tunnel complex attributed to Ali Khamenei appear to confirm long circulating rumors of a network stretching several kilometers beneath central Tehran, under medical centers, schools, and residential neighborhoods. A subterranean city, built in secret, hidden beneath a medical clinic affiliated with Iran's Ministry of Agriculture, accessible through entrances disguised as parking garages positioned next to elementary schools, 40 to 50 meters underground, and now reportedly targeted, penetrated, and compromised. Israeli Defense Minister Katz described what's left of the Iranian leadership as cowards that flee like mice into the tunnels. Flee like mice into the tunnels. Those are not the words of a general describing an enemy that is holding its ground. Those are the words of a man describing a regime in the final stages of institutional disintegration, hiding underground while the world above them burns. Reports are circulating tonight among military analysts that the collapse of these tunnel networks, the physical infrastructure of Iranian regime survival, represents something far more strategically significant than any missile exchange, any airstrike, any single battlefield moment. Because when a regime loses its ability to shelter its own leadership, it has lost the most fundamental ingredient of governance under fire: the ability to command, coordinate, and survive. And the question that should haunt every intelligence analyst watching this from Washington tonight is this: when the tunnels are gone, when the generals are fleeing, when the new supreme leader has not been seen in public for 2 days, what exactly is left of the Islamic Republic of Iran? Before we connect every dot that the media is reporting in fragments but not assembling into the full picture, subscribe right now, hit that bell. What I'm about to break down changes how you understand everything happening beneath the streets of Tehran right now. Let's establish exactly what has happened in the 12 days since this war began, because the pace of strategic deterioration inside the Iranian regime is something that no single headline has fully captured. On February 28, 2026, U.S. and Israeli forces launched nearly 900 strikes in 12 hours targeting Iranian missiles, air defenses, military infrastructure, and leadership. The initial wave of strikes killed Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei and dozens of other officials. 900 strikes in 12 hours. The opening salvo of Operation Epic Fury did not just kill a supreme leader, it decapitated the command architecture of a 47-year-old theocracy in a single night. But here's what the planners in Washington and Tel Aviv apparently miscalculated. The strike was seemingly based on the assumption that eliminating the head of state would precipitate the instant capitulation of the government. That has not happened. It has not happened. And the reason it has not happened is now the most important strategic fact of this conflict. Formulated by the IRGC, the concept of decentralized mosaic defense diffuses command and control across regional layers. Coupled with a fourth successor redundancy plan, it ensures that even if senior leaders are killed and central communications are severed, local combat units retain the authority and capacity to act. Iran built a system designed to survive its own decapitation. The regime planned for exactly this scenario and executed the redundancy plan within hours. Mojtaba Khamenei was elected on 8 March 2026 to replace his father as supreme leader, and the IRGC as well as Iran's top leaders pledged their allegiance to him. But here is where the mood inside Tehran shifts from resilience to something more fragile. 2 days after he was announced as Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei remains absent from public view, raising questions his swift selection was meant to preempt. Absent from public view, the new supreme leader of a nation at war, invisible, not on television, not addressing the military, not appearing before the nation. The institutional panic that his absence signals is enormous. Because a supreme leader who cannot be seen in public is a supreme leader who cannot demonstrate that the regime is functional. And a regime that cannot demonstrate functionality is a regime that is losing the psychological war even as it continues firing missiles. Here is what the media is reporting in separate stories but not connecting into the strategic picture they collectively form.
Let me do it for you. On March 5, shortly after heavy strikes targeted areas near the Pasteur government complex in central Tehran, the Israeli military published a video depicting what it described as Khamenei's underground bunker system. The complex resembles a subterranean city, a tunnel network stretching nearly 5 kilometers. The core of the complex sits beneath Shahid Sharide Medical Center, a clinic affiliated with Iran's Ministry of Agriculture, located 40 to 50 meters underground. The easternmost known entrance appears to be located in the Sheikh Hadi neighborhood, beneath the Jami multi-story parking garage, directly beside Hedrat Girls Elementary School, under hospitals, under schools, under parking garages next to elementary schools. The Iranian regime built its survival infrastructure beneath the most civilian-protected spaces in Tehran, using international humanitarian law as architectural camouflage. That is the back-channel reality of what these images reveal. And now that the tunnels have been exposed, mapped, and reportedly targeted, the leverage that this underground city provided to the regime has been neutralized. The institutional panic this creates inside what remains of the IRGC command structure cannot be overstated. For 40 years, Iranian generals knew that no matter what happened above ground, the regime had a hardened underground continuity network. That certainty is now gone, and military organizations that lose certainty about their own survival infrastructure do not fight the same way afterward. According to Iran International, thousands of IRGC personnel, including several senior officials, were killed or wounded as several military bases were attacked. Defense Minister Aziz Nasirzadeh and IRGC Commander Mohammad Pakpour had likely been killed by Israeli airstrikes. Defense Council Secretary Ali Khamenei had been killed, along with 4 top Ministry of Intelligence officials. The IRGC commander, the defense minister, the defense council secretary, 4 top intelligence officials. These are not replaceable positions in a wartime command structure. These are the individuals who held the institutional knowledge, the personal relationships with proxy commanders, the operational authority over Iran's missile forces and its regional network. The network was built on 3 pillars: the ideological authority of the supreme leader, the logistical coordination of the IRGC, and the geographic connection through Syria. Today, all 3 are broken, all 3 broken. The supreme leader dead, replaced by an untested son hiding from public view. The IRGC command structure decapitated. The Syrian land bridge severed since late 2024.
The architecture of Iranian regional power, built over 4 decades, has been structurally compromised in 12 days. Here is the dot that prevents anyone from declaring this conflict over. Using a mix of short and medium-range ballistic missiles, as well as drone swarms, Iran has turned time into a strategic weapon, aiming to deplete Israeli interceptor stockpiles and inflict continuous economic paralysis. Iran does not need its generals to be alive to keep firing. It does not need its tunnels to be intact to launch missiles. The decentralized mosaic defense was specifically designed so that local commanders could continue operations without central authorization. This means the Iranian military is simultaneously collapsing at the top and continuing to operate at the bottom, a combination that is arguably more dangerous than a fully functional command structure, because a decentralized military cannot be negotiated with, cannot receive ceasefire orders, and cannot be switched off by eliminating more senior figures. The Iranian Red Crescent Society says nearly 20,000 civilian buildings have been affected, along with 77 healthcare facilities. 20,000 civilian buildings, 77 healthcare facilities. The humanitarian catastrophe accumulating inside Iran is a strategic weapon that Tehran is deliberately publicizing, because every image of civilian damage is a message to the international community and to the Iranian people about who bears responsibility for this suffering. By elevating Mojtaba Khamenei, a figure most Iranians have never heard speak, the Islamic Republic has completed a long drift away from popular legitimacy. The Islamic Republic came to power in 1979, explicitly rejecting hereditary succession, and has now appointed a supreme leader whose only qualification is being the son of the man the Americans just killed. Within hours of Mojtaba Khamenei being named Iran's new supreme leader, state institutions responded with solemn messages of loyalty, while Persian-language social media filled with satire as many Iranian users reacted with disbelief, political frustration, and dark humor. Satire, dark humor on Persian social media inside a country under near total internet blackout.
That tells you everything about the legitimacy crisis Mojtaba Khamenei inherits. He is the supreme leader of a regime whose people are mocking his appointment under gunfire, under an internet shutdown, under the toxic smoke of burning oil depots. Let me trace where these converging threads lead in weeks and months ahead. Brett McGurk, CNN Global Affairs analyst who served under 4 presidents, outlined 3 scenarios. The base case: Trump provides the military time to complete the defined mission of degrading Iran's power projection, resulting in a weakened, contained Iran resembling Iraq in the 1990s. The worst case: economic shocks force Trump's hand to declare victory prematurely, leaving behind an Iran with power structures reconsolidated, embittered, and emboldened, with its military and nuclear capacity intact enough to be reconstituted. The third scenario: the steady erosion of the Islamic Republic, with the Iranian people directing the course of events. Notice what all 3 scenarios share. None of them end quickly. None of them end cleanly. And in 2 of the 3, the danger is not what happens if Iran loses. It is what happens if Iran survives in a damaged but intact form, convinced that it has passed the ultimate test. Oil-rich countries agreed to make 400 million barrels of oil from their emergency reserves available to the market in the largest ever release of oil reserves in International Energy Agency history. Unanimously agreed to address disruptions stemming from the war. The largest emergency oil reserve release in human history. That is the scale of the supply disruption this war has already created. And emergency reserves, by definition, are finite. They are not a solution. They are a delay. Iran's Revolutionary Guards threaten to choke off Middle East oil flows if U.S. and Israeli attacks continue. A regime that is losing its tunnels, losing its generals, losing its legitimacy, still controls the Strait of Hormuz, still has naval assets, still has the capacity to turn the world's most critical energy choke point into a weapon. That capacity does not disappear because the supreme leader is hiding underground. Mojtaba Khamenei's rise to power amid a war in which his parents, wife, and a daughter were killed has led many to wonder whether his leadership will be shaped more by grief and vengeance than by strategic calculation. A supreme leader whose family was killed by American and Israeli strikes, operating without public visibility, commanding a military that is running on decentralized autopilot, in possession of or proximity to nuclear material that the UN watchdog confirmed has not been fully accounted for. The combination of those factors is the scenario that keeps the most senior intelligence officials in Washington staring at their ceilings at 3 a.m. So here is where every dot connects, and I need you to hold this carefully. Despite Washington and Israel claiming they have struck more than 5,000 targets and decimated Iran's Air Force and Navy, the government in Tehran has not collapsed. 5,000 targets, 12 days, the supreme leader dead, the tunnel network exposed, the IRGC command decapitated, the generals described as fleeing like mice, and the government has not collapsed. That sentence should stop every analyst, every strategist, every armchair general who assumed this war would end quickly once the head was removed. The Islamic Republic was not built around one man. It was built around a system, a 47-year-old system of revolutionary institutions, religious authority, military redundancy, and popular fear that was specifically engineered to survive the death of its leadership. The absence of an off-ramp has allowed the war to metastasize across the region. Tehran has widened the map, launching strikes across 9 countries. 9 countries, not 1, not 6, 9. And the new supreme leader, invisible, untested, grieving the murder of his parents and wife, has not yet made his strategic intentions clear. Much now turns on the individual decisions of unpredictable leaders, including President Donald Trump, and now perhaps Iran's new and untested supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei. 2 unpredictable leaders, 1 conflict, no off-ramp, no defined endpoint, and a tunnel network beneath Tehran that, when it finally fully collapses, will not take the regime cleanly with it, because the regime already planned for the tunnels to be destroyed. The haunting thought I want to leave you with tonight is this: the tunnels are gone, the generals are fleeing, the supreme leader is hiding, and the missiles are still flying. When the last tunnel collapses and the last general flees, what exactly does the regime become? And is that version of Iran more dangerous than the one that existed before February 28th? Stay locked in, subscribe, because the answer